No boxers trap and pressure opponents like Mexicans. Their aggressive approach and willingness to accept punishment often leaves opposition jammed against the ropes. Yet the country still sits second in the boxing champions table, some 302 behind America. With the Crawford vs Canelo match looming, this moment feels vital as America's current pound-for-pound star attempts to dethrone Mexico's best. But this battle has raged on for years and shows no sign of stopping. So in this video, let's examine some of the biggest US against Mexican showdowns while analysing how Mexicans suffocate your will to go on. Now, I love exploring boxing culture in countries and have therefore created a retro Cuban boxing t-shirt. Hopefully the first of many from around the world, but we'll see how we go. If you are somewhat interested and want to support my project, please consider purchasing one. I'd greatly appreciate it. The Shopify link is down below. Thank you, you legends. There's only one place to start. A night of brutal attrition in March 1990, which concluded with absolute controversy, saw the feared Julio Cesar Chavez take on America's Meldrick Taylor. Chavez had an undefeated record of 68-0 with 55 wins by knockout, while Taylor, at only 17 years old, had won the gold medal at the 1984 Olympics. The stage was set, and boy oh boy did it not disappoint. The initial rounds were measured, with exchanges of jabs, crosses and occasional hooks flying, as each fighter scoped the other out. Mexican fighters are known for mirroring their opponents, following them like an obsessive shadow, meaning the two men stood toe-to-toe as the fight progressed. They began to roll against each other, trading vicious combinations, but Taylor was frustrating the Mexican, boxing him and showing exemplary head movement and deployment of the Philly shell. The American's flurries of hooks to the body and head were beautiful, and he was undeniably inflicting damage upon the Mexican great. Yet Chavez just kept coming forward, smothering Taylor's fire. At the start of the 12th, Taylor missed a wild hook and fell to the canvas, revealing his exhaustion. That was all Chavez needed. Like a pendulum, he'd keep his punches raining down on the tired Taylor, preventing his recovery and stifling him into submission. Despite the controversial stoppage, Chavez had shown how a boxer could be essentially getting peppered and countered for most of the match, yet ruthless perseverance prevails. Just 10 years earlier, in February 1980, the revered Salvador Sanchez would meet America's Danny Lopez in Phoenix to contest the WBC World Feather title. Mexico's Sanchez is a fascinating case study as he had mastered the ability to bob and weave below the eye line, before using the spring in his legs to explode up onto the opponent's chin. Against Lopez, he used that to exceptional effect, not being afraid to offer his head as a momentary target while closing the distance, before stunning the opponent at close range. As with many Mexican fighters, Sanchez was well accustomed to the take two for one approach. Being characteristically tough, he'd be happy to firm a jab to the face or a hook to the head if it meant he could deliver his own substantial blows in tight spaces. As the rounds wore on, Danny Lopez was simply becoming dizzy as he struggled to acclimatize to Sanchez's constant level changes and rolls. He was permanently confronted by blurs of the Mexican as he dipped below his ranging jab and returned fire. The American was compelled to concentrate intensely, keeping his eyes fixed, and any lapses, even for half a second, would see him driven backwards emphatically. With Sanchez, the suffocation didn't come from mirroring the opponent, it was from the requirement to remain completely alert or be punished. As round 11 continued, Danny Lopez began to lose track of the barrages, finding himself trapped on the ropes. And in the 13th, his admirable struggle would be crushed. Sanchez was simply relentless. On September 2nd, 2000, America's Kevin Kelly met the unbeaten Mexican Erik Morales in El Paso. Kelly, despite being past his best, was certainly no walkover, but he would be in for a torrid time against the hardened Mexican. See, Morales' style was awkward. He'd aim to get his head effectively against his opponent's chest, providing a difficult angle to land hits. He'd then explode upwards with hooks or uppercuts, or simply maneuver his opposition around in a sort of clinch. Morales would throw punches before leaving his arm extended to trap an individual in a tangled mess, smothering their escape routes. Kelly discovered this early, with Morales ensnaring him, clinching him, and hammering him to the body and head. Like a street brawl, he'd wear the American down with his weight, using his forearm to push and tire Kelly, before engaging in a phone booth style firefight. The Mexican was showing his familiarity with fighting on the inside, stifling the American's attacks before firing damaging hooks. Confronting Morales was like fighting in a dream. You're effectively incapable of landing a hard punch while missing with feeble shots. He'd remain so close to you, at which point you could smell the sweat dripping off his brow. Morales would measure carefully with one glove before driving through the other with vicious tenacity, which would eventually see Kelly topple to the canvas. This Mexican was a new breed. His style wasn't quite as free-flowing as Salvador Sanchez, yet he knew how to fight ugly, preventing the opponents from landing clean shots, even tying up their arms if needed, before piling on with his own punishment. In my mind, this is what you'd call a proper slugger who saps your energy with every engagement. Now let's move to more modern day. In November 2019, Canelo fought the Russian Sergey Kovalev. Kovalev, having a 5-inch height advantage, relied on a strong jab and skilled footwork to control the space, while Canelo slowly marched him down, seeking to land power shots. But what the Mexican is so effective at is deploying a watertight guard, which opponents endlessly attempt to penetrate. But, interestingly, is the counter-punching which can suffocate you in this circumstance. Kovalev seemed to hold back at times, being reluctant to unleash punches of full power. He constantly second-guessed himself, fearing punching himself out against the tight-knit guard before the inevitable return caught him flush. But what is perhaps the scariest aspect is that Canelo refuses to stop stalking, regardless of taking damage. He is simply there, right in front of Kovalev, making the Russian fear reprisals if concentration lapses. With the bout being close, round 10 saw Canelo ramp up the pressure, fighting in the pocket and trapping Kovalev in the corners. The Russian had largely been in control, but he began to lose his grip as Canelo turned the screw, pursuing him more rigorously. As he ramped up the pressure, he caught Kovalev with a short left hook, sending him crashing to the canvas. What I believe is so terrifying about fighting Canelo is that, like against many counterpunchers, you believe you have the upper hand. You may be on top, dictating the tempo, but, like carbon monoxide gradually seeping into a room you're in, you can become comfortable and blissfully unaware of how danger is gradually developing. Canelo is not as brash as a Cesar Chavez or as elusive as a Salvador Sanchez. He's not even as accustomed to vicious brawling like an Erik Morales, but he is methodical and determined. Relying on his exceptional chin, he is very rarely phased. Even when he lost to the incredible Dmitry Bivol, he remained in front of the Soviet-style pugilist, refusing to back off to offset any damage. This is largely why I feel he'll present significant issues for Terence Crawford. The American is known for his precision, speed, and ring IQ, but probably not his punching power generally. With Canelo having shared the ring with light heavyweights like Kovalev and Bivol, it's unlikely that he'll be susceptible to Crawford's power, and therefore Terence will probably seek to outpoint the Mexican. Though this is possible, the fight could easily go the way of the Kovalev one, with Bud believing he's in control, jabbing and moving out of the pursuing Mexican's way. Yet, with the added weight to Crawford likely reducing his speed, will he be able to elude Canelo's advances and escape being slowly marched into corners? I'm just not too sure. I feel Canelo will gradually turn the screw, slowly suffocating Crawford without him fully realizing it.
You know, he went out there, he'd done the job on the guy. Who was it? Another Sanchez, Gomez, Lopez, who was it? Another road sweeper? Hey, I've done that before. Now I'm with the big boys. I'm there already.
This clip from Nigel Ben is so funny to me. Who exactly are you referring to? I know it can't be Salvador Sanchez, surely not Alfonso Gomez, who challenged Canelo for the WBC Super Welter title, and definitely not Ricardo Lopez, who never lost a bout in his career. In fact, he was so influential that even the boxing manga Hajime no Ippo serialized his legacy by basing him on Ricardo Martinez. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, in Britain at least, perhaps even the Western world generally, Mexican fighters tend to be often overlooked. Hopefully this video has highlighted why their style and general aggression is so deadly within the four pillars of a boxing ring. They require 100% concentration to combat and routinely deliver amazing and exciting matchups, and this is largely evidenced by the constant featuring of Mexican names in the Ring Magazine Fight of the Year records. But now I really want to hear what you guys think. Are Mexican fighters the best in the business? They are certainly active, with pretty much every boxing card scheduled featuring a Mexican in some form. And what about Crawford against Canelo? Do you think the seasoned American can beat the experienced Canelo in a fight? If so, how will he do it? How can he offset the slow march of Saul Alvarez as he gradually cuts off the escape routes? Please leave your opinions down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you are interested in the t-shirts and want to look sick out on the street or in training, please consider visiting the Shopify link. That's all for today. I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.